I never thought a small-town diner could be a cage. But when the clock resets at 11:47 p.m., I realize the trap I'm in. Every night it's the same. I finish my greasy burger, gulp down my cola, and then the jukebox blares the opening notes of "Don't Stop Believing." Just as the chorus kicks in, time loops back, and I'm back to ordering my burger, cola in front of me. The first few times, I thought it was a joke, maybe a dream. But by the fifth loop, I knew something was wrong. Everyone else in the diner, the old couple in the corner booth, the trucker at the counter, the young waitress, seem clueless about what's going on. They're like actors in a play that never ends. By the 20th loop, I was desperate. I tried leaving before 11:47 p.m., but the diner door wouldn't budge. The windows were like walls. I even threw a chair at one, but it bounced back as if hitting an invisible force field. The 50th loop came, and that's when things started getting weirder. It was on that loop that the young waitress, Sarah, looked at me differently. Her eyes had always been kind of vacant, but this time they were sharp, as if she had woken up from a long sleep. "You're stuck too, aren't you?" she whispered as she poured me more cola. My heart leapt. "You see it? The loop?" She nodded, her eyes darting around the diner like she expected it to swallow her whole. "It started for me about a week ago, but time inside the loop isn't the same. It's been years for me." My stomach sank. Years? Was that going to be me? "I've tried everything to break it," she continued, her voice shaky. "Talking to people, leaving notes, but the loop erases it all." "Then how come we're talking now? How come you remember?" Sarah shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe the loop's breaking." That was a shred of hope. But before I could grasp it, the jukebox blared, "Don't Stop Believing," and 11:47 p.m. hit. The loop reset. The next loop was different. I waited for Sarah to come by, but when she did, her eyes were vacant again. It was like talking to a ghost. I panicked. Was I back to square one? But when loop 60 came, Sarah was awake again. "We need to break it," I told her. "We need to do something we've never done before." Sarah nodded. "I've tried mixing things up, doing things out of order, but it never works. The loop catches on." "Well, we gotta think bigger," I said, racking my brain for something, anything that might work. The clock was ticking, and 11:47 p.m. was closing in. We needed to act fast. Then, an idea hit me. "The jukebox," I said, my eyes widening. "What if we stop the song? What if we break the pattern there?" Sarah looked at me, hope in her eyes for the first time in what she said were years. "It's worth a try." We stood by the jukebox, coins in hand, ready to put in anything that wasn't "Don't Stop Believing." But as we approached, we found that it was unplugged. The song was playing from nowhere. Sarah's face was drained of color. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I never checked." Just then, the clock hit 11:47 p.m., and everything reset. On the 70th loop, Sarah was awake again. This time, she looked frantic, broken. "I can't do this anymore," she said, her voice teetering on the edge of despair. "We can't give up," I urged her. "We need to figure this out. We need to break this damn loop." "I've been stuck for so long," she said, tears in her eyes. "Maybe this is hell. Maybe we're just stuck here forever." "No," I said, taking her hand. "We're getting out of here, both of us. Let's try talking to the others. Maybe together we can shake them out of it." We spent the entire loop talking, begging, yelling at the other patrons. But it was like talking to dolls. They were stuck in their roles, unable to break free. Finally, 11:47 p.m. came, and as the song reached its chorus, I closed my eyes, bracing for the loop. But then, something happened. Silence. I opened my eyes. The diner was empty, and the clock was stuck at 11:47 p.m. I looked at Sarah, and she looked back, her eyes wide. Did we break it? We stepped toward the door, hand in hand, and pushed. It opened, We stepped out into the cool night air, gasping as if coming up for air after a long dive. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, we were free. But as we walked away, I glanced back at the diner. For a moment, just a moment, I saw figures inside, stuck in their same old seats. Were they still looping? I shuddered at the thought, but didn't look back. We had escaped, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the loop was still there, waiting for its next victim to walk through those diner doors. And every time I hear "Don't Stop Believing," my heart skips a beat, and I can't help but wonder if somewhere, in a forgotten corner of the world, it's still 11:47 p.m.
You ever walk into a room and forget why you went in there? Imagine that, but a whole day. A whole day that keeps repeating itself. That's what happened to me. Man, I wish I could forget it. It started on a Saturday. I remember waking up to my alarm clock blaring the same old tune, you know, the one that drives you nuts but gets you out of bed. I did my usual stuff, brushed my teeth, put on jeans and a t-shirt, and headed downstairs for breakfast. Mom was making pancakes. Dad was reading the newspaper. My little sister Lily was already stuffing her face with syrup and whipped cream. I didn't think much of it then, but looking back, it was all too normal. I got into my truck and drove to my buddy Tom's house. We had planned to fix up his dad's old motorcycle. Classic weekend stuff. We tinkered around for a few hours, not making much progress but having a good time. At about 5 p.m., Tom's neighbor, Mr. Wilson, came over. The guy was old, lived alone, and always had a scowl on his face. This time was no different. He muttered something about hearing strange noises last night and asked us to keep it down. Tom rolled his eyes and promised we'd be quieter. As the sun dipped, we called it a day. I said bye to Tom and drove back home. Dinner was spaghetti and meatballs, my favorite. I went to bed thinking it had been a pretty decent day. Then I woke up to the same alarm clock tune, brushed my teeth, put on jeans and a t-shirt. Went downstairs to see Mom making pancakes, Dad reading the newspaper, and Lily going to town on her breakfast. At first, I thought it was just a strong sense of déjà vu. I shook it off and went about my day. Drove to Tom's, worked on the motorcycle, got warned by Mr. Wilson, again. It wasn't until I sat down for another dinner of spaghetti and meatballs that it clicked. The day had repeated itself. Every single detail. I went to bed uneasy, praying it was a freak coincidence. Nope. I woke up to the same day, again. This time I knew something was wrong, so I decided to change things up. I skipped going to Tom's and stayed home, playing video games all day. But as the clock hit midnight, everything reset. It was driving me nuts. No matter what I did differently, the day looped back. I even tried telling my family, but they laughed it off like it was a joke. I felt trapped. And then, on the 10th loop, something changed. Mr. Wilson didn't come over to complain. Tom and I didn't think much of it at first. But as night rolled in, a feeling of dread washed over me. Like a storm was coming. Curiosity got the better of me. I told Tom I was heading home, but instead, I parked my truck near Mr. Wilson's house and watched. A couple of hours went by. Nothing. Just when I was about to call it quits, I saw something move in his window. It was a figure, not Mr. Wilson, but something darker, hazy, like a shadow. It seemed to grow and twist until it filled the entire room. I was scared out of my mind, but also fascinated. What was that thing? Before I knew it, the clock hit midnight. The day reset. But this time, I felt different, like I was carrying the shadow with me. It was a part of me, but not in a good way. I felt heavy, drained. Ignoring the weird feeling, I drove to Tom's, eager to fix the motorcycle and avoid Mr. Wilson's house. But as the hours went by, that dark feeling grew stronger. I couldn't shake it off. And then Tom's motorcycle, which we had almost fixed, spontaneously fell apart. Like it had been ripped apart by an invisible force. Enough was enough. I needed answers. That evening, instead of going home, I went back to Mr. Wilson's house. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, but his house looked darker than ever. I hesitated for a moment and then knocked. Mr. Wilson answered the door, but he looked different. Older, tired, like he had aged years in a single day. When he saw me, his eyes widened. "You've seen it, haven't you?" I nodded, too scared to speak. "You have to end the loop," he whispered, "or it will never let you go." "But how?" I stammered. Mr. Wilson took a deep breath. "You have to confront it, face your fears. That's the only way." As if on cue, the shadow appeared behind him, this time bigger and darker. Before I could react, Mr. Wilson was swallowed by it, and then it came for me. I felt its darkness seep into my soul, weighing me down, pulling me in. I remembered Mr. Wilson's words. Face your fears. Gathering all the courage I had, I stared directly into the shadow, focusing on every good memory, every loved one, every happy moment I had ever experienced. And just like that, the shadow vanished. I found myself standing in my own living room, my family around me. But something was different. The date had changed. It was a new day. I had broken the loop. But the darkness? It still lingers, a haunting reminder of the loop on Maple Street. Now, every time the clock ticks closer to midnight, I can't help but wonder what would have happened if I hadn't broken free. Would I have been trapped forever? I guess I'll never know, and honestly, I don't want to find out.
So I had this incredibly bizarre night, right? It was Friday and I'd just gotten off work, eager to dive into the weekend. I grabbed a six-pack on my way home, imagining a chill evening with Netflix or something. Little did I know, I was about to be in some serious Twilight Zone type stuff. I started noticing something was off when I got to my apartment building. I went to grab my mail, and Mrs. Harris, the old lady who lives 2 floors down, was standing there, just staring at her mailbox. "Evening, Mrs. Harris," I said, but she didn't respond. She was like a statue. Weird, but okay, she's old. Maybe she's having a moment. I get inside my apartment, pop open a beer, and throw on some random horror flick. It's about halfway through, right when the creepy stuff is about to kick off, that I hear my door creak. Now mind you, I always lock my door, always. I grab a baseball bat, cause what else am I gonna do, and slowly walk over. No one's there. The door is ajar, though. I check the hallway. Nothing. Close and lock the door, feeling my heartbeat in my ears. I go back to my movie, but man, I'm uneasy. The suspense in the movie mixes with my own jitters, and I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. Then, bam, my TV goes black. Power's out. But wait, that's not right. Everything else is still on. The hallway light outside, my kitchen light, even my freaking phone charger. It's just the TV. So, I go to investigate, check the plugs and stuff. When I bend down, I see something that makes my heart stop. There's a pair of eyes staring at me from under the sofa. Yellow eyes, glowing in the dark. I scream, and those eyes vanish, like smoke. I'm alone again. This is when I decide it's not just a freaky coincidence. Something's really wrong. I grab my keys, wallet, and phone. I'm getting out of there. I can crash at my buddy Steve's or something. I open the door and head for the stairs, but guess what? Mrs. Harris is still there, staring at her mailbox. I'm seriously freaked out now. "Mrs. Harris, are you okay?" Again, no response. The hallway is dim, and it seems longer than usual, like it's stretched out. I finally reach the stairs, take them 2 at a time, get to the ground floor, and bolt for the main door. But it won't open. It's like it's glued shut or something. I pull, yank, kick, but nothing. Defeated, I head back to my apartment. When I get in, I notice the time. It's still 12:03 a.m. Hadn't at least 20 minutes passed? I look at my phone to double check, and yep, 12:03 a.m. there too. I sit down, trying to catch my breath when I hear a soft whisper. "Stay." The voice is right next to my ear. I spring up and whirl around. No one's there. I'm officially terrified. I decide to call Steve, but when I look at my phone, all my contacts are gone. I try 911 and it just rings and rings. My eyes wander to the TV and I see it flicker on for a second before going black again. Except this time, those yellow eyes are on the screen, staring right at me. I can't take it anymore. I feel trapped. I look at the clock and it's still freaking 12:03 a.m. I yell, "What do you want from me?" Right then, I hear my door creak. Slowly it swings open and there, standing in the doorway, is me. An exact duplicate, smiling wickedly. "I want you to stay," he or I say. "Forever." Everything turns black. When I come to, I'm in my bed. I check the time. 12:03 a.m. I hear my door creak open, and a chill runs down my spine. The loop has started again. So, yeah, it's Friday night, and I just got off work. I'm not sure how many times I've lived this night, and I don't know how to make it stop. I'm trapped in a loop, and the other me, whatever it is, wants me to stay here forever. It's 12:03 a.m. again, and my door just creaked open. Wish me luck, okay? I'll need it.